Diversity in English can be defined in lots of different ways, but I do think that sometimes the definition is far too narrow. I think at times people think diversity in English is purely about representation, when actually we should be thinking about it as education and re-education of our young people to show them what society actually looks in. That's the beauty of literature. That it is a reflection of our society in many ways. And when we think about the need to include lots of different voices, own voices, representations of different bodies, different experiences, that can all be done through the English curriculum, through literature. And our curriculum has been quite limited in the past to the voices of a few. And I think now we're moving on as a society. Diversity in English is starting to look like including a wider range of voices and a wider range of identities. I think when we consider the role of literature in creation of empathy, when we have more diversity in literature, we are more likely to have our young people being more empathetic to people who are outside of their own identities. Literature is a gateway to a kind of social cohesion. We learn about people, we learn about places, and if we see those in our lessons, through our texts, through our examples, then perhaps actually we can have a more empathetic society. So it's hugely important as a concept. One of the big barriers to ensuring that diversity in English is a success is our own lack of knowledge around different characteristics. And I'll often say I didn't know how to teach Dickens until I learned how to teach Dickens. I had to teach it. And I think it's the same with diverse texts and diverse voices, that we'll often feel like we don't have the knowledge to be able to present something fairly or accurately. But just like you would develop your subject knowledge about Dickens, it's our responsibility to develop our subject knowledge around the issues in particular texts, whether that's a ballad, whether that's a short story, whether that's a whole text. And where, to do our research and to do some of the heavy lifting. I think spending time in English departments talking about the context of a text, the nuances of a text, the potential fallout of a text, means that we can preempt issues before we start to teach. It does mean that there are difficult conversations to be had around the kind of language that's used in text, the kind of issues that come up. But if we're always frightened of doing it because we haven't had those conversations and we haven't added to our racial literacy or our gender literacy, then perhaps actually that's what makes it difficult.